watching the Justin Henry Show on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Make sure you follow on all social media platforms. So you have Jalen Hurts on your fantasy team and you're struggling because you might be without him this week 16. Well, I'm here to talk to you about some waiver options that you can be looking at in single QB leagues and super flex leagues as well if you're looking to replace him. Now, Jalen Hurts has not been ruled out for week 16, but he is dealing with a shoulder injury that could cause him to miss the game. I expect the Eagles to take it safe, even though it's a division matchup against Dallas, with their lead firmly intact there in the NFC. So Jalen Hurts is dealing with the shoulder injury that he suffered against the Bears in week 15. And so it's very probable that he can miss this game. And there's a high probability that even if he does play, their team would limit him in some capacity. So I expect them to move on to Gardner Minshew, who is the option there for the Eagles if Jalen Hurts does miss the game. Now, where does this leave you for fantasy purposes? That means you got to look at the waiver wire because your trade deadline is more than likely over when it comes to fantasy. Now, to start off, if you're looking at Gardner Minshew going up against Dallas, he's a recommended play only if it's a super deep league, right? You're a 12-team league where 2 quarterbacks are rostered on more formats. Gardner Minshew is an okay option to start. Now, the team does have weapons. When you talk about Devontae Smith, you talk about A.J. Brown, the run game, I expect it to lean heavily, and this total for the game is sitting very high still. So I can see Gardner Minshew having a role with this team, but to me, he's not necessarily the best recommendation. He is an option, though, in deeper leagues if you don't have anybody else available. A better option in more shallow leagues is Aaron Rodgers, and now he may or may not be on waivers, but in your 10 and 8-man leagues, check to see if he's out there. Next week, the Packers go up against the Miami Dolphins, who have given up the fourth most passing yards, the fourth most points to fantasy QBs. So make sure he's out there. Obviously, the weapons are coming back. Romeo Doubs is back for this team. So Aaron Rodgers is a viable fantasy start. He just has a very low ceiling. He doesn't run the ball. We haven't seen any 300-yard games yet from Aaron Rodgers as of today. So make sure if he's out there, he's a viable start. The upside is limited. Now, in comparison to a Gardner Minshew, I like Aaron Rodgers a little bit more because the upside is there with Christian Watson. And going up against the Miami Dolphins team, they're going to have to put up points. So Gardner Minshew is okay. Aaron Rodgers, I'd prefer over him. Another option that's been out there is Brock Purdy. And now I do not like this option because going up against a tough Commanders defense, it's going to be tough for Brock Purdy to see this all the way through. So he's been playing well. He's had 15 points, 21, and 16 in all 3 of his games as a starter. And he's coming off a 10 days rest against the Seahawks. They played Thursday night. He played pretty well. So the weapons are here for the San Francisco team. But to me, he's just a very low upside play. Right around Aaron Rodgers territory, I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson's another option, and I know it's not the sexiest pick, right? Zach Wilson could have a good game against Jacksonville at home. We saw him play pretty well in the first half, struggle a little bit in the second half against the Lions, but Jacksonville hasn't been that great against opposing quarterbacks throughout this year. So Zach Wilson is an option for desperate QB managers. If you're looking and you have a 12-man league and Zach Wilson's out there, it's an okay start in a Thursday night matchup at home. Like I said, against the Jacksonville team, this should be putting up points. So this should be somewhat contestable. I can see Zach Wilson having a decent, not great fantasy day. Another option people may be looking at is Deshaun Watson, who we've seen have an okay day recently and then struggled a little bit last week. He is not a recommended start this week. The Cleveland Browns are going to be dealing with snow and wind. And when we talk about wind here on this channel, wind is the biggest thing to take a look at. So I'm not recommending Deshaun Watson in any fantasy format this week, even if he uses his legs a little bit. This team is going to be very limited offensively, and I'm not expecting Deshaun Watson to have a decent or relevant fantasy day. He hasn't with good weather, so I'm not expecting things to change with terrible weather in store for this Browns and Saints game on Saturday. Another option you may be looking at is Daniel Jones, and this is a recommended start. Daniel Jones, to me, is a very viable option against a Vikings defense who has struggled to contain quarterbacks recently. So we've seen Matt Ryan have a field day, last week. To me, Daniel Jones is an option if you're looking for, a desperation play, or if he's chilling out there on waivers, he uses his legs. So he has a pretty decent floor. I can see Daniel Jones having a solid outing for you, but as we've talked about, the upside is limited for a lot of these waiver wire quarterbacks, and Daniel Jones is one of them. So Does he have potential for a 15 to 20 point day against the Minnesota Vikings? Absolutely he does. Is he going to be a league winner type player for you, get 25 or more? I don't see it happening. This team, the Giants, they rely heavily on the run game and Saquon Barkley. In a matchup against the Vikings, that is pretty much a must-win at this point for the Giants. So I could see them using their weapons. They are limited offensive line-wise, and in the passing game, they've had a lot of their receiving options go out as well. So when it comes to Daniel Jones, I can see a 15 to 20 point day, not a whole lot more than that. He is a decent option if you're chilling on waivers looking for an option. And then the last one would be a Monday night play. Matt Ryan, who hasn't been great this season. He's been serviceable at times, and we've seen him have some spike weeks, some bad weeks. Against this Chargers defense, though, they've been a little bit suspect to big games from quarterbacks. So on Monday night, if you're looking for a little bit more of a Hail Mary, Matt Ryan is a decent option when it comes to waiver wire. If you're searching down there and some of these other guys we talked about, the Aaron Rodgers are gone, you can look at Matt Ryan as an option going into to play against the San Diego Chargers team, who's going to need to put up points, right? The Colts are going to have to put up points this game. So Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Jelani Woods, he's got some great weapons, and they just lost Jonathan Taylor. So what does that mean for this Colts team? They're going to have to pass the ball even more if they want to win games. So I do like Matt Ryan as, a desperation QB play if a lot of the guys that we just talked about aren't there. It's just he doesn't rush the ball as well, so his upside is limited. And that can be the same for all of these quarterbacks. So when it comes to replacing Jalen Hurts, you're never going to be able to fully replace Jalen Hurts. How would I rank these options, right? If I was looking at all these options, how would I rank them? I would put Aaron Rodgers first. I think he has the biggest potential for a big game against the Miami Dolphins. Next up, I put Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew has a pretty good setup against Dallas, so he would be the next option there. Next up, I put Daniel Jones against the Minnesota Vikings. I think he has a decent floor, doesn't have a whole lot of upside. Gardner Minshew does carry a little bit more upside than Daniel Jones, but the floor is a little bit there as well, a little bit lower. Then next up, I put Brock Purdy, who we've seen be pretty consistent. The weapons are there. It's a tough matchup against the Commanders. I think he can do well. Matt Ryan would be next, but there's options there when it comes to Matt Ryan. He could have a down day. He could have a big day for you. That's just part of the game when it comes to Matt Ryan and the turnovers. So they're going to have to score against the Chargers. I like him there next. Zach Wilson is also another option. Thursday night, short week. I'm not, you got to deal with the inconsistencies when it comes to Zach Wilson. And so the last one would be Deshaun Watson. Some other names out there, Trevor Lawrence, I'm not excited about with the Jets. He's an option there. Ryan Tannehill against the Houston Texans have been really good against quarterbacks. I'm not really recommending Ryan Tannehill. So these are some of the names I went ahead and picked out of the available free agents. If you have any more that you're looking at, drop them in the comments. I'll try to get to as many comments as possible for this video. I know it's desperation time. Fantasy playoffs are here, trying to help you guys win your league. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Hopefully this is helpful, and I'll see you on the next episode.